Hey guys, welcome to the Actiri Magic channel. I'm Steve, the Actiri. Today we're going to be talking about a brand new commander out of Adventures into the Forgotten Realms, and that is Volo, Guide to Monsters. If you're not familiar, this is a really hopping commander, and we'll explain him in a minute. But if you wait till the end of the video, I will share with you a couple combos. Alright, Volo, Guide to Monsters is a 4-drop, 3/2. It's 1 green, 1 blue, 2 generic, human wizard. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. Now, so we are highly encouraged not to play creatures at the same time. That's fine with us. That's cool. But I do want to mention right off the bat that if you're going to play Volo Guide to Monsters, something like Snapcaster Mage, which has the wizard type, isn't going to work. Humans, they're not going to work either. So I just want to point those out before we get further into the video. Also, building a Volo Guide to Monsters deck is very, you have to be very considerate of what you're putting in there, because if you get a Hydra in your deck, you don't want to put more than 2 Hydras in your deck. So you want to limit it to 1. If you have to go to 2, totally fine. Chances are you're probably not going to get both Hydras at the same time. But anyway, now let's check out what we can do with Volo Guide to Monsters. And our honorable mentions are Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner, is a 3-drop legendary planeswalker Kiora that says 2 generic, hybrid blue-green. Whenever a creature with a power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. That's really good in our deck, because at 3 mana, now we're going to be able to cast creatures and get cards every time we cast one. Or sorry, whenever one enters the battlefield. And it says -1, untap target permanent. So this helps us maybe ramp a little bit, maybe attack, and then untap our attacking creature. It's good. And next up, Alchemist's Refuge is a land that says tap, add a colorless mana to your mana pool, a green and a blue, tap, you may cast on land cards this turn as though they had flash. So since this is such a creature-heavy build, I mean, Volo is just a creature-heavy deck. Since it's such a creature-heavy build, playing our cards at the end of an opponent's turn is going to allow us to be much more consistently able to have our creatures on our turn able to attack, because we're going to dodge board wipe. Super powerful. So Alchemist Refuge isn't included in my list, but it didn't make my top 5. So let's talk about number 5, and that is Kage the Tidestar. Kage the Tidestar is a legendary creature, and it's one of the few legendary creatures, aside from Volo, that I wanted to talk to you about in this list, because most legendary creatures, if you copy them, you're going to have a death trigger. You're going to trigger that card to go to your graveyard, which in some cases, like Kage, is okay. So Kage is a 1 blue, 5 generic, 5/5 flying. When Kage the Tidestar is put into a graveyard from play, gain control of target creature. So the way this works is you're going to cast Kage. Volo's going to see that cast trigger. It's going to put another Kage onto the stack. This token Kage is going to enter the battlefield. Then our real Kage, our non-token copy, is going to enter the battlefield. Whenever they're both in play, they're going to check that we have to sacrifice one of them. I'm going to sacrifice the token version. Whenever that token version leaves the battlefield and goes to the graveyard, it touches the graveyard, and we gain control of target creature an opponent controls. Wait, yeah. So for 6 mana, we're going to get a 5/5 flying, gain control of somebody else's biggest creature, maybe their commander, and then we're going to have another blocker to then steal another creature whenever we want to. This is just good business. That's number 5, and it's a budget pick. Number 4 on our list is Apex Devastator. This one arguably could be number 3, but let's talk about it. I like this one at number 4 because it's such an expensive card. It is a 10-drop, 2 green, 8 generic, 10/10 that has Cascade, 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 Cascade. What? So if you're not familiar with Cascade, it says when you cast a spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. Multiple instances of Cascade, each trigger separately. Each one of these Cascade triggers is actually going to cast the spell that we find off the top. Most of the time, since it's such a creature-heavy build, we're going to find creatures with these Cascade triggers. Whenever we find these creatures with these cascade triggers, Volo is going to activate and put another copy of that creature onto the stack. Those two creatures are going to resolve, then the next cascade trigger is going to go through. So we're going to get a bunch of power, hopefully, but this is a random amount of power from Apex Devastator. So we could get our mana dorks if we're unlucky. But if we get our big creatures, then it goes disgusting. But it's a very random effect. So number 3 on my list is a budget card, super cheap. It's Rampaging Balance. It's the 6-drop, 6/6 trample, 4 generic, 2 green. It says landfall. Whenever the land enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. So whenever Rampaging Balance enters the battlefield, we'll get a token of it. Whenever we have both of them in play, if we play a land drop immediately after, we're going to get 2 4/4 green beasts, which means we're going to get another 8 power. So we're going to play Rampaging Balance for 6 mana, play a land, and get 20 power on the battlefield between a creature and a land. It's good. At 6 mana, especially good. And it's my budget pick. Next up, number 2, this is my unique pick of the day. That is Nyxbloom Ancient. If you're not familiar with this card, it is a 3 green, 4 generic, 5/5 trample. It says, it's an elemental, by the way. If you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much mana instead. So if we make 2 of this guy, so we have the token and the non-token version of Nyxbloom Ancient, each one of our lands taps for 9 mana. Ridiculous, okay? And I didn't see this on EDH Rec. I think that this is a must in anything Volo related, because now you're just going to be able to vomit your hand and go super Kamehameha. Anyway, and number 1 on our list, given all of that mana, if we tap 1 mana for 9, we're going to be able to cast Craterhoof Behemoth at 8, and he is a 3 green, 5 generic, haste beast. It says whenever Craterhoof Behemoth enters a battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Holy crap, especially with Volo. Then we're going to get 2 of these triggers. People are going to die. They're going to die. It's so good. Anyway, so this is very widely recognized as one of the best green creatures you can be playing in EDH. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's no surprise it's here on my number 1 on my list. It's an expensive card. But let's talk about all the ways that we can get these cards into play with our combos. So I was looking at all of the combos for blue-green, and a lot of them are centered around having infinite mana, which we're perfectly okay with because we're going to cast a lot of big, dumb creatures. The first one I'm going to mention is Bloom Tender and Freed from the Real. Bloom Tender is going to tap for each color among permanents you control. Add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool. So this allows us to now tap for a blue-green. So we have another blue creature out there somewhere. It's if we control Volo, it'll tap for a blue-green. And Freed from the Real will say, it says it's 1 blue, 2 generic, or it says enchant creature. 1 blue tap enchanted creature, 1 blue untap enchanted creature. So now we can pay that 1 blue that we're generating from Bloom Tender and untap Bloom Tender, so that we net that 1 green. So we're gonna get infinite green mana with Bloom Tender, and then be able to cast basically everything in our hand. Okay, another way that we can go infinite, but this is infinite colorless mana, is Basalt Monolith and Cannon Bonder Prodigy. So Basalt Monolith is a 3 generic artifact. It says Basalt Monolith doesn't untap during your untap step. It says tap, add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. 3 generic, untap Basalt Monolith. Okay, so Cannon Bonder Prodigy is a 1 blue, 1 green, 2/2. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. So with Basalt Monolith, we're going to untap Basalt Monolith for 3. But Basalt Monolith with Kinnan in play taps for 4 generic. So we're going to net, every time we tap Basalt Monolith, we're going to get 4 generic. Every time we go to untap Basalt Monolith, we're only going to spend 3 of it. So we get 1 extra generic mana. So we've untapped it, we're going to tap it again, get 5 mana, then we're going to spend 3 of that mana to get, we have 2 mana left over. So we're going to keep repeating that process infinitely over and over and over and over again, and we can cast basically all the generic parts of our creature spells. I don't think that this is as powerful as Bloom Tender and Free from the Real, but Bloom Tender is a very, very squishy creature as a 1/1. Now, Kingdom Bonner Prodigy also has the upside. It says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature card from among them on the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is just straight good business. So on top, so for 1 green and a blue, and we're going infinite, we can cast, or we can activate this ability. This is really good. So we're getting infinite mana. We're also getting the ability to be able to look at the top 5 cards of our library and just put stuff into play. We're going to have infinite mana. We're going to be able to vomit our hand out. And whenever we're vomiting all those creatures onto the battlefield, it'd be nice to be able to draw some cards with it too. So Beast Whisper is going to allow us to draw cards whenever we cast a creature spell. And Soul of the Harvest is going to allow us to draw a card whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under our control. It's gonna be like we're a big giant herd of random stuff going after it. And it says they're moving in herds. They do move in herds. And then we're gonna overwhelm our opponent. Ah! If you don't know that movie, we got to do some work, homie. Anyway, guys, I hope you like this video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on the Acteria Magic channel. Deuces!